So this is one of the biggest miracles in basketball history. And the fact is that a major reason for that miracle was an Irish player. So there's definitely some like happiness there for me, but we got to talk a little bit about the Euro Cup finalist Baxi Farrell. So Euro Cup is the second highest level of competition in Europe, but like it's not like it's a bad level. Like Besiktas have got likes of like Temip's plays for Besiktas, Dana Evans, Holly Winterburn is playing with the Atlanta Dream. Uh Leon have Asvel in Leon. Is it Leon? I think Asvel's Leon. Either way, they've got Dominique Malonga, who's probably going to be second in the WNBA draft, especially considering how Olivia Ma has been playing recently. They've got Jose Josite, who's going to be a first-round pick in the WNBA draft as well, and they got a lot of players. You've got Galatasaray, who've got Chechi Zandalasini, Leah Rue, Julie Vanloo, two players that are probably going to start for the Valkyries, and one who's going to be a good backup for Storm. And with that, they were it's a tough competition. And a Baxi Farrell team, who one of their best players being Irish, which is crazy, ended up pulling off some incredible upsets. So if you guys don't know, like Farrell were literally, they won the LF Challenge regular season champion 2023, but they were in the second tier in Spain in 2021. They were literally in the 2021 season. They were in the second tier in Spain. Yes, the second tier. And I want to see what they have, how they're getting on this year in the Spanish league. So their starting lineup, obviously, their top scorer in the Spanish league looks to be Claire Melia, who's Irish, who again, like I've been watching play since she was dominating at the under-16s Euros and carrying her school to a win over Holy Faith in the under-19 schools championship the following year. And obviously this team is ninth in the Spanish league. This is a team that is like, they're decent. They're decent. Don't get it wrong. Don't get twisted. This is a decent team. It's a very, very decent team. But in Euro Cup, they just seem to have hit some crazy peak. So this is a team that did not qualify for Euro Cup. So in the way it works is there's Euro League and there's Euro Cup. And there's a bunch of teams that are automatically in Euro Cup, and there's teams in Euro League. They're, after like a certain round, the worst teams from Euro League drop into Euro Cup, and they're expected to win. But if you look at this, they had to get through the qualifiers, and again, they played PB63. I have no idea who PB63 are. What country is PB60? Italy. So they played PB63 in their first game. Then, to start the regular season, they face off against Galatasaray. And Galatasaray are stacked. This is before they even got Leah Rue. But Galatasaray were stacked. It was their first real tough game, and they struggled. They really, really struggled. And it was, like, even with Julie Vanloo scoring 0 points, they have Breanna Fraser. Did Breanna Fraser ever play in the W? Yeah, Breanna Fraser, a former WNBA player for the Seattle Storm. She appeared in, so she's been on a WNBA roster. Not like a real WNBA player, but again, they have her. They have, was Zandalasini even playing this game? No, so they didn't even have Zandalasini. So I don't think anyone expected much from Baxi, because it was to be expected. They then won a couple of games comfortably, and then they went and beat Galatasaray, which was huge. Because again, Galatasaray, and look, obviously it's not against these players, but as a Leeds United fan, fuck Galatasaray. But you can see in this game right here, Julie Vanloo still only had 3. Like, Zandalasini hasn't started playing yet. They hadn't got Leah Rue yet. Claire only having 2 points, trying to figure it out. And they ended up pulling off a win. And then you just look as the season goes on. In the playoffs, round 1, they end up beating, the first round of playoffs, they end up beating CAS. Then they tie a game. And this is the way it should be, by the way. Like, no overtime. No overtime in a 2-leg game. Because Imagine that, where it's better off, they won by 5, it's better off for Baxi to have won by 2 than it was, or to have lost by 2 than it was him to tie. So no overtime in these games, because overtime just allows you to stack up a points difference. So they won a game and they drew a game. Makes sense when you know how the tournament works. Then you've got the quarterfinals against DSS where they killed them. And then they faced Lyon. And Lyon were expected to win the whole competition. Like with Galatasaray, with Besiktas out, with the teams that came down from EuroLeague out, Lyon were expected to win. And they got demolished off the back of the greatest individual performance in the history of Irish basketball from Claire Melia. And then they're facing off against Lyon again in Lyon, and all they need to do is lose by less than 30, and they lost by 10. And they were up a little bit early. And it was the craziest thing watching an Irish player get double teamed and triple teamed for part of the game and still come out with nearly a double-double with 4 assists to 1 turnover, which I like to see. Because again, the Mazian, is Mazian still coaching? Is he still the coach of the team that they're playing in the final? Rashid Mazian. So no. So is he still coaching? No. So when he took that job, he left, because I was like, they're playing against his team, but now they're playing against the team in here in Villeneuve. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that, but like that's the team that made the EuroLeague finals last year. They literally were the runner-up. They were the runners-up in EuroLeague last year. They made the finals of EuroLeague last year, and they're facing off against them in the final of the EuroLeague in Ferrol. In Ferrol on the 26th of March. I'm strongly considering going over to watch that game. Strongly considering it. But like, if you look at this team, this is a very, very solid team. You have got Golden State Valkyries Carla Leite, a player for the Valkyries who was expected to come in and give you big minutes. And again, you've got a bunch of players that have played at high levels. And again, they were in the EuroLeague final last year. Let's not forget that. This is a team in the EuroLeague final. And the game is in Ferrol, where Baxi have been essentially... Are they undefeated at home? So they beat Galatasaray in Turkey. Wow. They beat Galatasaray away from home. But in the playoffs, I don't think they've lost a game at home. Like, it was the Galatasaray the only game they've lost at home. 1 at home, 1 away, 1 at home, 1 away and 1 at home. Yeah. They've lost 1 game in the entire Euro Cup campaign at home. And by the way, this is a team that was in the Spanish second tier. It's a team that needed to play a qualifying round to get into the tournament. It is almost the equivalent of, like, I don't know. This is probably the best equivalent I could do in America, but obviously this is a higher level. Like, Euro Cup is a higher level than NCAA D1 in terms of women's basketball. And in terms of basketball in general, Euro Cup is a higher level than NCAA D1. But it would be like, in terms of like an achievement and Cinderella story, imagine if there was a team that had to qualify to win a qualifying round to get into a 16 seed to get into the NCAA D1 tournament. They had to play one of those qualifying games to get in. But also, you have to take into account that in this fictional reality, the worst 4 teams from the NBA get put into the NCAA tournament. And then that 16th seed making the final of the NCAA tournament. It's almost an equivalent of that. Like, if they win this one more game, it is almost, like, it's as big of a miracle as I've seen in the sport of basketball. With that happening, they're being led down the stretch by a playmaking center from, I don't know exactly where she's from, but who grew up playing for Portlaoise Panthers, who played for Colester a year ago, who played for, was it Colester 2 years ago? Or 2 years ago was playing for Trinity Meteors. The year before that was playing for Glanmire, all in the Irish League. And the coach had to be convinced. The coach literally had to be convinced to sign an Irish player because of the level of play, of level of ball in Ireland, and teams don't really like signing Irish players. And it's a player who, again, without question, like as an underage player, was, especially in European Championships, was talked about in a similar light to a Niara Sabally, maybe not quite as good, or a Holly Winterburn who signed a dream better than Holly, and almost didn't get signed, and is now probably the main option, especially in the big games, has become that number one option, if not like number two, number three option, but one of the main options for the biggest Cinderella story as of right now in basketball. So yeah, it is absolutely crazy. And obviously, look, they're playing against the Cinderella story from last year. This team was the Cinderella story in EuroLeague. They had no right to make a EuroLeague final. And then they got into the EuroLeague final and got destroyed by Fenerbahce. But this year it's the opposite. Instead of being the Cinderella story like last year, they're facing the Cinderella story in Ferrol, which should be a really, really interesting matchup. And I'm strongly considering if I'm around, if I don't have anything to do, going to that game. But anyway, yeah, that is a video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.